Each and every day, we get blasted with so much bad things that we need to be able to seek shelter. We need to be able to seek comfort and refuge. And that comes from the Word alone. And so today's sermon, I hope that this will be able to impact your head, your heart, and your hands. And in order for that to happen, we have to apply the message. So it's not good enough for us to just come here and hear the message, but we have to be doers of the message. It's like Lego blocks, right? Legos aren't going to be able to do anything for themselves. You actually have to do it. You have to apply what you know and be able to build from there. So this is today's first comment, and it says, I realize you don't want to be disturbed during the Super Bowl, but is the barbed wire necessary? Okay? All right? And then the second one says, ditch the lucky hat, Leroy. It's almost 50 years since the Jets won a Super Bowl. Sometimes we maybe have a favorite team and we're like, oh, if only I could just wear this hat or just rub this thing, it's going to give them good luck. But it's like, yeah, it doesn't work like that. So, okay? All right, so if you can't tell by now, today's sermon is just a really special one. It's just a different one because it's Super Bowl Sunday. And so I get to do this one time a year, just talking about the Super Bowl. But we're going to relate that to a message today. And so today's sermon is titled New Plays, okay? All right, so the sermon question is this. What should I do if the play that I've been running hasn't been working? I ask myself this all the time, okay? And I don't know if it gets any more, I don't know. Maybe when I get older, I'll have less questions like, this isn't working, okay? Maybe I gotta try something. Joan? Okay, all right, okay.
You don't ever get to that place.
All right, yeah, I just thought that maybe maybe when I'm finally going to be this age, I will have it figured out even more, and I don't need to reassess the different plays in my life. And so maybe you yourself, maybe you've asked those same questions too. What should I do if the place that I've been running hasn't been working? Because the reality is, none of us, we live in a perfect world. You don't make perfect choices. You don't have perfect plays. There's a lot of work that we need to make in our life. So today, the one thing, if there's one thing that you can remember today for my entire sermon is this. New plays are needed if the old plays ain't working. If what you have been doing has not been working, if what you've been doing has been getting you to the same place, jail, drug house, the bar, if that's been getting you to the same place, your play ain't working, okay? So this is my disclaimer. If you enjoy football, you will appreciate today's sermon. And if you don't, we just get to do this one time a year, okay? You can hold on, okay? All right, so to get us started, wanted to ask this question. Who's going to win the Super Bowl today? So who is cheering on for the Kansas City Chiefs? Raise your hand, please. Okay? Kansas City Chiefs. Who is cheering on for the San Francisco 49ers? All right? Okay. All right? Okay. And I think most people just want San Fran to lose because of what they did to the Packers. All right? Okay, so today it's Super Bowl Sunday, and we have two awesome teams that are going to be going against each other. And so here's kind of a little teaser trailer of what's going to be happening here today, later this afternoon, okay? Okay, can I get the audio?
The 49ers will get after you.
Okay, so we have two great teams that are going to be battling it out, okay? You don't make it to the Super Bowl because you're just kind of a mediocre team. You make it to the Super Bowl because you're a phenomenal team. And so, it's just two awesome teams. I think it's going to be a really close game. It's going to be a really good offensive team. And so, back then, okay, so two great teams back then in the Old Testament. Anybody know? Two formidable teams back then. Okay, so this was the Israelites and the Philistines. So the Philistines and the Israelites, two awesome teams, and they constantly went at it with each other. And so today we're going to be talking about 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 20 to 25. And here it says, one day Jesse said to David, take this basket of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread and carry them quickly to your brothers and give these 10 cuts of cheese to their captain. See how your brothers are getting along and bring back a report on how they are doing. David's brothers were with Saul and the Israelite army at the valley of Elah, fighting against the Philistines. He arrived at the camp just as the Israelite army was leaving for the battlefield with shouts and battle cries. Soon the Israelite and Philistine forces stood facing each other, army against army. David left his things with the keeper of supplies and hurried out to the ranks to greet his brothers. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, came out from the Philistine ranks. Then David heard him shout his usual taunt to the army of Israel. As soon as the Israelite army saw him, they began to run away in fright. Have you seen the giant? The men asked. He comes out each day to defy Israel. The king has offered a huge reward to anyone who kills him. So this is who they were afraid of. They were afraid of Goliath. Goliath stood at over 9 feet tall. And that's the reason why they were so afraid of the Philistine army. And then in 1 Samuel it says, for 40 days, every morning and evening, the Philistine champion strutted in front of the Israelite army. For 40 days, the Israelites were supposed to go out and do battle with the Philistines, with Goliath. But instead of doing battle with them, what were they like? They were frozen in fear. They were afraid of the enemy. And so they couldn't do nothing because they were so afraid to take him on. They were afraid for their life. They didn't know what they were going to be doing. So I don't want to remind you guys of this, but last Sunday, okay? This kind of reminded me of the playoff game between the 49ers and the Packers. And so, Raheem Mostert, he was their running back. And for the first half of their game, he got touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. Okay? And the Packers just kind of froze. They didn't know what they were going to be doing. Here the 49ers were just walking all over them. And so if you missed out on that game, here we go.
Three wide receivers set for the 49ers. It's George Kittle at the bottom. Somehow the handoff hitting the arms of Mostert. He's gone. Touchdown, San Francisco. Another run a trap with the right guard, Mike Person. He comes across. They get Staley up at the next level, the left tackle, and there is a king for Raheem Mostert. Thomas pulling right. Mostert cuts back. Another nice run by Raheem Mostert. After that 20-yard punt. Wise is asked to the Packers defense trying to hold them in right now. Here's Mostert again. Already has a touchdown carry. Mostert in the backfield. He makes it. Samuel out in front. Touchdown.
All right, before I really hurt you guys even more, right? Okay? So that's a little bit painful to watch. But, yeah, it's kind of like they were just frozen, like they didn't know what to do with this running back that was running all over them. And again, how are the Packers? They're like frozen in fear, like what are we going to do with this guy? And so for the entire game, he got 4 touchdowns. And that's kind of unheard of, especially for a playoff game. Usually two pretty good teams playing against each other. And so, what was happening? The Packers, they were like just taking it. Touchdown, after touchdown, after touchdown. Okay? So sometimes in life, we allow the enemy, which is Satan, just to walk all over us. We feel like we can't do anything about it. So this football game is a lot like our life, because sometimes we're doing one thing, and we think we're doing an okay job, and then you realize that, you know what I'm doing is not working. So then, you kind of just freeze in fear, and the devil comes back, and Satan comes back, the enemy comes back, and the enemy continues to pound you, and you end up just freezing. You don't know what to do. This happens a lot to us, because sometimes we stray away from our relationship with God. We end up forgetting that it is God that has the power. And so sometimes I think the Green Bay Packers are really good teams, but sometimes in the face of great adversity, sometimes they forget how good that they are. And it's because of this that for that first half, the Green Bay Packers, they didn't score whatsoever. And the 49ers just walked all over them. And so sometimes we freeze in fear, but I actually believe that inaction is also action. So when the Israelites, when they saw the Philistines, they froze. When they saw Goliath, they froze even more. For 40 days, they couldn't figure out how in the world are we going to defeat this enemy. And they just kind of stayed around for 40 days, not knowing what to do. So sometimes in life, problems come, and sometimes we think that we can sleep this off. We think that sometimes we can just kind of bury this, like, if I ignore it, it's just going to go away. And sometimes there are problems in life, they don't go away because we ignore it. We have to deal with these things, okay? And so the definition for insanity is this: doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So, the Packers, they continue to probably, do the same defensive plays. And so then they ended up getting the same results. They got 4 touchdowns. And so your life and my life, we have a playbook. And there are certain things that you regularly do. It's kind of your pattern in life. And some of these patterns become your playbook. So the same plays are going to get you the same results as well. Some of you guys have some really good winning plays. And what do I mean by that? Some of you guys have some really good habits that's gotten you into really good places. Some of you guys have some really good people that you surround yourself with that's gotten you really far in life. Some of you guys have good places that you go to that has helped you to get far in life. That seems to be some winning plays in your life. There's some really good things that you're doing well, which is really awesome. And to that, my encouragement is, keep on doing those same things. This is the reason why, in that Packers versus 49ers game, the 49ers quarterback, he only had to throw 8 times. Because he just gave the running back the ball and they were scoring touchdowns. If that's working, you just keep on doing that. Why change it up, right? And so, if reading the Bible has been really, really good for you, keep on doing that. If coming to the cross has been really good for you, keep on doing that. If, I don't know, if going to work has been really good for you, keep on doing that. So you've got some winning plays in your playbook. Keep on doing that. And then we also have some losing plays. There are some things that we do in our life, it hasn't worked. It's kind of like the example that I said for the little kids. If you're going to give the running back the ball and he's going to go to the right, and if you're not going to get any yards going to the right, you got to change that up. Maybe instead of giving the running back the ball, you got to start throwing it or something, okay? And so, there are some plays that you do in your life, it hasn't been really good for you. It's gotten you in trouble. It hasn't gotten you far in life. In fact, the way that I look at it is sometimes we take one step forward and 3 steps back. Those playbooks, instead of getting the yards, you're losing yards. And that's not good. No football team ever wants to be losing yards. You don't want to be 4th down and 30 yards to go. That means you're losing yards. And so we need to be moving forward in life with better plays. Because these losing plays ain't going to get you anywhere. You got to change things up. Insanity means you keep on doing the same thing over and over, and you think that maybe this is that one time I'm going to get different results. No. Somebody once told me that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and getting different results, or worse. So they added that or worse part. And unfortunately, some of my friends, that or worse part has meant overdoses. It has meant going to jail. It has meant like a life term in prison. That's what that or worse means. Okay? So some of the things that we do, it's not working. If we continue to do that, it's going to hurt ourselves or it's going to hurt others. And especially the people that we hurt the most are the ones that we love the most, which tends to be our family and our friends. And so whatever plays that you've been doing in your life that hasn't been working, you got to stop. You're going to have to make up a new game plan as to how you're going to not do that. And so because of this, we need new change in our life. It's time for a change. Sometimes that change is really, really difficult because that's the only thing that we have ever known. That's the only play that you've ever done before. But the really cool thing is, in life, God has blessed us with so many people. You are surrounded here today with so many awesome people that want to help you. And if you've only done one play, and you're realizing that today I need to do a new play, sometimes those new play involves new people. And the cool thing about this is you have new people here at the cross that's willing to help you. And so change needs to happen today. Even I myself, I need to have new change. And so it's been really awesome. Like for example, like the Joseph Project, it's been really awesome having people like Maggie come alongside me and say, well, this is how we've been doing things, but here's how we can make it better. So I know how the playbook has been for the Joseph Project, but sometimes it's really humbling having other people come in and say, hey, perhaps we could do it this way. And you know what? We tried that way and it's like, you know what? This play actually works. Let's keep on doing that, okay? Same thing in our life. We need new plays because maybe the old plays are no longer working. If you do those old plays enough, the enemy's able to read. They're able to know, oh, this is what's going to happen. And so the defense is going to be able to read you all the time. You need new plays. Sometimes that new play involves a new person. And so for the Israelites, they needed a hero. They needed somebody that was not going to be afraid. And that was David, the shepherd boy. David, the shepherd boy, was going to be the one to take on the giant. In 1 Samuel chapter 17, it continues to say, as Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him. Reaching into a shepherd's bag and taking out a stone, He hurled it with his sling and hit the Philistine in the forehead. The stones sank in, and Goliath stumbled and fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with only a sling and a stone, for he had no sword. Then David ran over and pulled Goliath's sword from its sheath. David used it to kill him and cut off his head. So, as a little child, when I read this story, I was like, wow, man, here's David, a little shepherd boy, and he takes this stone and he hurls it and he kills this giant beast. How was David able to do such a phenomenal thing? And the more that I read this story, I realized that, you know what? David is just like me. David is just like you. David had no power whatsoever. But when he hurled that stone, he knew that that power can only come from God alone. So we can't think that, you know what? I can do this by myself. I can make this new play by myself. You ain't got it in you. Because if you would have gotten it in you, you would have been so much more successful in all the other things that you've been doing, but yet, you've been doing the same thing. And so David's power did not come from power. David got blessed by God. And that's the reason why he was able to have victory over his enemy. You and I are much like David. Sometimes we look at our addiction. Sometimes we look at our lifestyle. Sometimes we look at our sin. And we're like, it's such an overwhelming beast. How am I able to overcome this giant? Because I feel so puny in the face of this enemy. And we give up. We're scared. We don't do anything for 40 days. Or we don't do anything for 40 years. And we're just mocked that David's power didn't come from him. But that power came from God alone. And that's what we need in our life. We need more of Him in us. It's the power that comes from within through Jesus Christ that's going to help us to have victory over the enemy. So, if your life plays ain't working, it's time to change it up. If what you have been doing hasn't been working, you're only a fool to continue to run that same play. It is time for you and I to have a new playbook. And so the gospel message, the really cool thing is, if we're all football players, and in a way we're in this big game, if we're the football players, Jesus is the coach. And if Jesus is the coach, and Jesus says, hey, follow me, I know the play that's going to help you to win. Jesus says, all you got to do is follow me. But sometimes we don't follow Jesus because we say, Jesus, I don't think that plan's going to work. That plan never works. I bet you if we do this, it's going to work. And for too long, you and I, we have been play makers in our life, and these plays ain't going to get us nowhere. And so Jesus is our coach. Perhaps it's time for us to listen to the coach and actually do what the coach is wanting us to do. Follow Jesus. Follow His playbook instead of trying to make your own. And so, for the inspiration today, the greatest play in the Super Bowl according to history. So this happened in 2008. According to historians, Super Bowl historians, the greatest football play came in the New York game against the Patriots game. And this defining moment is what ended up leading the New York Giants to win the Super Bowl that year against the formidable Patriots. Here we go. All right. Okay, I'm going to find that play.
Every drive has a turning point. Super Bowl 42 was about to see not just its defining moment, but a play for the ages.
35 from their own 44. Manning takes the snap. Back to throw. Under pressure. Going for Ron. Here he goes. Right out of it. Still finds out. And now throws it deep downfield. Wide open to Ringo.
So that was 3rd and 5. They needed to get first down.
I have no idea. I thought they had it sacked for sure. I am still flabbergasted, and it's amazing how he didn't go down. What a job he did.
Tyree had Harrison all over him. The ball was out of his helmet. But he got his other hand on it. Brought it in.
Catch he made with the coverage that was on top of him. He held it all the way down. It was the greatest play in Super Bowl history.
Wow.
All right, Sam, who was the quarterback? All right, what was it? All right, so Eli Manning, right? So he's about to get sacked. He's about to go down. How many of us, sometimes in our life, we feel like we're about to go down? We feel like we're going to get sacked. What does he do? Does he just kind of lay there like, all right, I'm just going to take it? Okay? What did he do? He fought back against kind of the enemy, right? And because he did give up, he fought back, he was able to miraculously get away from all those defenders somehow. And last moment, and he didn't have a whole lot of chance, he threw that ball, and by another miracle, one of his players caught that. And because of that, they got first down, and then they ended up going to win the football game that year. And so they were the Super Bowl champions. This is like your life and my life. Sometimes we feel like we're just bogged down by the enemy, and we feel like giving up. But don't you ever give up. Because God is a God of miracle. He's a miracle worker. And we need to be following Him. And if He says, if you follow this play, it's going to work. Don't you ever give up. Don't give up. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with tossing that throw. Giving somebody that pass and say, hey, I need your help. And here at the cross, if you ever toss that help, you want to be there to catch your ball to help you. Okay? So don't you guys ever give up. And so, let's apply this message to your life today. Think about this. What's a play that you've been doing that hasn't been working for you? You need to pray for a new playbook. Okay? So there has to be one thing in your life that needs a little work on. Because what you've been doing hasn't been working. And so, what's a new play that you got to do this year? Go ahead. Let's pray about that. So here at the end, the sermon question is, what should I do if the play that I've been running has been working? And the one takeaway message is really simple. New plays are needed if the old ain't working. Just got to try something new, okay? And that's the reason why today's sermon has been new plays. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us to church here today. And Lord God, thank you for allowing all of us to be able to just come and worship you together. Lord God, as we reflect upon our life, Lord, there are some things that we've been doing, Lord, that's been working, and then there's some things that we've been doing that it hasn't been working. Lord God, some of these old plays have been getting us the old results, and these old results, Lord God, we are so tired of them. And so today, Lord God, I would just ask that you would just work in all of our hearts. Help us to establish a new play in our life, Lord God, so that we can continue to see more success. Lord God, we can see more joy in our life. Lord God, we want to see you working in us. And sometimes, Lord God, that's just a matter of us surrendering our life to you and allowing us to follow you. And we pray all these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.